Hi everybody. This is video 6, 7, doesn't matter. It's the object pooling video. And in the object pooling video, you'll be learning a tool that you'll be able to use in any game you ever create. So what object pooling is basically if I need a bunch of platforms and say I duplicate them and then let me open this up. I put this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here. And I want to move these around. I'm going to have to, and I want my Doodle guy to jump up and down off those. I'm going to need a lot of platforms because if you play Doodle jump, he goes up and he goes up and he goes up and he goes up, and it has virtually infinite number of platforms. Well, I can't just zoom out and just start making a game that goes on forever with infinite platforms. That's not viable. I mean, and it might just, somebody eventually is going to be able to get to the end of those platforms and it's going to break your game if you want to make an infinite jumping game. So what you want to do is you want to create new platforms every time they reach a new height. So that's possible. So like once my guy gets here, new platforms appear above him. Then when he's there, even more and more and more and so on. You get the picture. Okay, that's fine. But you could be creating a ton of platforms. And every time you create a platform, you run a instantiate function and then a destroy function that are pretty computatively intensive. So what you want to do is object pool. So what object pool does is it basically creates, and let's create an empty object and call that object pool. And this object will create a pool of platforms. So let me go ahead and delete these guys. And we're going to do that by creating a script called object pooler. All right, and let's add object pooler. Oops. No, I guess it's not ready yet. But let's open it up. We have it here. Object pooler. My object pool should be able to add it. For some reason, it doesn't want to. Let's do object pooler. Let's create a new script. Let's just see what happens. Create add. Okay. Let's delete this one then. And we have one right here. Let's edit this script. All right, great. Okay, so in this script, we're going to be creating a pool of objects. So we need three things. We need to know what the object we are pooling, so that's going to be a public game object, pooled object. And then we want to know the amount of objects that we're going to pool. So we're going to say pooled amount. And let's set that to 10 standard, but you can always change it. And we want to have a list, which is kind of like an array. Sounds similar, right? An array is a list of objects, but an array is not as it's pretty immutable in C#. So what you want is something that's more flexible. So a list is kind of like an array. In JavaScript, it's just an object, and it has functions like add and remove that are really helpful. So, and that should be pooled objects. Okay, so that's working for us. So what we want to do when we first run our script, our object pooler, we want to set our pooled objects to a new list of game objects. And then we want to create all those game objects. So we're going to run a for loop. The amount of times we have for pooled amount. And what we do in there is we're going to say game object. We want to create a game object and instantiate that. So we can cast it with a game object and then instantiate pooled object. So the object, so now we have an object and we want to set it to false. We do not want it active. So we're going to set active false, because when we start up, maybe we're going to want ones active, but for the most part, we're going to have another script activating them. We just want to create inactive objects to grab. So then we're going to say pooled object. And then if you look here, we have add. And if I say remove, we have remove. These are going to become very handy. So let's add our object. All right. Hit save. And now we have a little bit of an error right now because of another script we wrote. So let's keep writing this. And what we're going to want to do is be able to say public game object get pooled object. So we want to be able to grab one of these objects, and we want to basically loop through all our objects and find the first object that is inactive and give it to us. So we don't need this, we just need the for loop, and we're going to say if the pooled object .I is not active in the hierarchy, and if you look right here, I have a not in front. This returns active in hierarchy as a bool, so if it's true, this means not true. If it's not active in the hierarchy, return pooled, well, that object. All right, and hit save. One problem here, we don't want to say pooled amount because there might end up being more than the pooled amount in there, so we want to say pooled objects.count. And you can always create restrictions on there. Maybe you want it to basically start with 10 and then possibly go up to 20, and then just have like something that it would be in the other game logic that would limit those. And we went on to say public list. So this is if we want to grab all the objects at once. Get pooled objects. And we want to return pooled objects. Simple as that. And if we hit play, let's just give it a second to save. Whoops, needs to be lowercase. Looks pretty good. Is there any missing syntax or something? Let's see here. Get not all code paths return a value. Oh, so this has a problem. Get pooled objects. Keep this capital. What if we get there and there is all the objects are already active? So we're gonna have to create an object. So we could just grab all this code right here for now. Grab this, pop it in there, and then just return an object. Return the same object. So basically we're just creating a new object, putting it in the hierarchy, and hitting save. Now that should disappear in a second. Oop. Get pooled objects. Oops, needs to be lowercase. Okay. So that should work. Give it 1 second. There we go. All the errors are gone. Let's get rid of these warnings. Let's get rid of that. Let's hit play, and we should see 10 objects pop right here. And it's loading up, and nothing happened. Oh, easy. Because if you look right here, I don't have anything set to my pooled object. So grab my platform, hit play, and now I have 10 platforms to play with. All right, in the next video, we'll figure out what to do with those platforms. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have any suggestions, do the same.